Hey, welcome. Here I am back. I'm so excited to be here today, back here with everyone on the chat for designing Adobe XD. I'm Talon Wadsworth. I'm the lead designer of XD, and today I have someone I've been trying to get on the show since the beginning. My partner in crime here, Mr. Cisco Guzman, PM extraordinaire. Cisco, welcome to the stream.
Thanks, Talon. I'm happy to finally, after 44 years of being on Earth, I'm ready to go viral.
Here we are. You're streaming.
Yep.
You're live. You're live. The chat. Everyone say hi to Cisco in the chat. Cisco is a very talented product manager group product manager, I'll say. Very important on Adobe XD, and also a designer himself in his own right.
Yep. Yeah. I specialize in morphing my friends' faces into with other kitty faces. I'm really good with memes as well. I'm happy to share some of those after this live stream.
Very good, good. They say that's you got to bring your meme game when it comes to working on the XD team.
That's right.
Hey everybody in the chat. Hey Anel, Dushi, Anna, Dushi rocks, Girish. Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for joining us here on the Friday. Man, this has been we've had some exciting releases recently, and especially some things that your team has been working on very diligent, very hard over the past few months.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your team does? So you're the group product manager. Tell us a little bit about what you do what does you say you do
What
here?
do we do all day long? We're like a little well, first of all, I'm a group product manager focusing on design and prototype. So when you boot up XD and you start diving into all of the design features that we have and the prototyping, that's basically what I and my team focus on. And a lot of what we do is actually really similar probably to a lot of what you do day in and day out as UX designers, which is to just try to understand the problems that your customers, that your users are actually experiencing. So a lot of what we do is really go out into the community and into the companies that work with XD and to just try to get to the bottom of what some of these points of friction are, like what takes the joy out of designing. And then like try to build tools. I mean, it's pretty much a charmed life, right?
This is like the geekiest job ever.
Roll in every day. Yeah, it's a little...
So good.
I feel silly, but I skip to work every day.
No, it is. I mean, like you've been in the trenches working in Illustrator and Photoshop and the whole suite of products. So you know the pain that it can be sometimes in working with these very large projects that we now have, like in some of these other products.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a part of why we had talked about like focusing on the assets panel. Yeah. Like in today's
He's giving away the game. We're getting there.
Wait, I thought. Oh, I didn't realize. See, I'm not ready.
We're getting there.
Sorry.
I was gonna like build you up.
You're gonna go like that.
No, yeah. That's good. No, we are here today to talk about, again, like Cisco's team is a very talented team, and we work very closely, Cisco and I and our design team and the product management team, in really crafting the future of all of the great design and prototyping features in XD. And what's really cool is that we're actually all, including like the designers and PM team, like we are actively actually designing in XD every day, which again is part of that, really the fun part of our job, is we get to then go and like actually come up with and design and test and research these features that we actually are using like every day. That's really exciting. And so today we're going to talk about one of my particular favorite features, and that's why I'm so excited to have you on. Cisco, why is the assets panel the best feature in Adobe XD, would you say?
I personally love the assets panel because I feel like it's my own personal little design assistant.
Yeah.
There were so many years when I would go home feeling like a professional like aligner of objects, or a professional like collator of email opinions, or like, a professional like finder of the black object and switching it to the red object. Like it was just like that's so not why we study design, right?
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
like why we work
Yeah.
to do this. It's like to solve problems and to figure out how things work. So for me, the assets panel is basically like your way of making sure that you can go through and make all these changes and scale yourself throughout your entire document in a way that's just really easy to use.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, definitely. And, you know, actually there's, hey, everyone in the chat. There's this guy named Lars. I don't know what. Keep an eye on that guy. I don't know what that guy's doing.
Or like
John. Yeah. Sorry, there's some riffraff in the chat today. And Garish had a question. So do we design XD and XD? Yes, we design XD and XD, and that's actually why I wanted to sort of share our love for the assets panel, because this is exactly, I have that same feeling. It's our own little design assistant. And if you haven't used it before, or you hadn't used maybe features like it before, where again, there's this, when you've designed now, you've gone from, like one page or screen, and now you've got 10, 20, hundreds of screens now. If you want to change something, or the client comes back and says, hey, I don't like this, the pain to go back through and change that color that's in use in all these, UI elements and buttons all over the place, or change the style to a different style. It takes a lot of time out of your daily work. So the assets panel in XD is really meant to be that sort of design assistant. Keeps track of all the colors and all the styles and all the symbols that you're reusing throughout your whole document. And anyone in the chat here outside of the sandbaggers do you use the assets panel? Do you guys have you clicked on it in XD? We're gonna talk a little bit more about it, kind of go and deep dive in there. Oh look, our friend Mr. Tom.
I know, I saw that.
Is in the chat today. Tom, how are you? We miss you. How are things? He knows and loves the asset panel as well, I'm sure. So yeah, so let's intro it. Let's talk about like what the assets panel is for. All right, so the assets panel, if you guys haven't seen it in action or tried it yourself, follow along. It's going to become your favorite feature too. So why do we use the assets panel to be our? Why is it important that we have this design assistant with us as we're working, in these large projects with hundreds of screens, right? Like what are some of those reasons? Like why should people use the assets panel?
I mean, so I think a part of what we do as designers is we have an idea in our head, and then we try to get it out there, we communicate intent, and then we try to bring other people along in that vision. But so much of what we do is also craftspersonship. You know what I mean? It's like that ability to make sure that everything is sticking together, not just from a conceptual standpoint, but something that you can stand behind as work product and as a deliverable. And so I feel like consistency, right? And being able to ensure that everything looks really tight and ready for sharing is really important.
I remember that this has been like a common problem. I feel like we've all felt like you've gone through and you've been using a blue. So you've chosen blue as your primary color. You've used it across all these screens. And of course, along the way, you've been either, you've maybe had the color picker and you just sort of like do the first button and then you draw another shape and you want to use that same color. So you sample that color and on and on and on. And at the end of the day, you go to export to your developer and you've used half a dozen or more blues that are all of a similar shade, but they're just slightly off from one another. And so now you've got to go back and do a bunch of work to now choose like which blue is the right blue, and then go and reapply that blue across the board. And that's a real pain, to be able to do that. And so yeah, the assets panel, like for me, like it just helps me stay consistent as I'm designing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the other big aspect here, and I think we talked about color, but like symbols, like why, like what's important about symbols? Like how do you use symbols yourself in your work?
Well, I think a lot of what people are doing, a lot of the customers that we talk to, we know that they're working in component-driven workflows. You're not just designing these individual discrete elements, you're creating a whole system of meaning and an interface that your users and your customers are going to use to navigate. which means that you're probably going to be reusing a lot of these elements and then maybe grouping them differently in another area, you know, presenting different, a lot of really similar components, maybe in slightly, you know, different treatments or with different overrides. But like a button is like use case number one, right? It's just like the button.
Yeah.
So you don't actually want those to be like 1,500 different buttons all over your
you want the consistency, right? You want to be using the right component. You want to be building that system, right? That's become like a really, like, I think, good term about the sort of describing like our challenge in designing these products and these platforms and these, you know, web-based services, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, the harder, I mean, being a designer today means that you're designing for like an infinite number of surfaces, form factors, platforms, people. People are in the back seat. You've got people that you need to bring along. And so even a simple little change, like changing the color of a button, right, is something that, depending on when you get that piece of feedback, it can be a huge amount of work. Yeah. And usually also just, I mean, let's just keep it real here. Like we do this to put food on our table. Like that's your profitability. That's your profitability. That's like your hangout time with your family and with your friends. Like this is actually it's very real, right? Yeah. So that's a part of why I skip to work every day and work on the assets panel, right? It's that's what allows you to make your job doable and to focus on other stuff.
You know, I think when we kind of started the project, and Tom and Anirudh, who's on the chat today, you guys, if you have any questions for some of the OG XD right here in the chat with us today. Hey, everyone else, actually wanted to say a quick shout out to Rokeya from Bangladesh. It's great you're tuning in. Thanks so much. Omar from Tulum, welcome. Daryl, thanks for joining us. But global. We have a global audience. We're talking about global system workflows. Look at that. You know, we had this tagline that we kind of had, I think really is, again, kind of sort of now sort of embedded within us, you know, design at the speed of thought. You know, that when we were thinking about building XD and designing an app from the ground up, we really wanted to just, you know, like get rid of all those little management, you know, all those popover windows and clicks and things that you had to go through just to get a great result, or to help you manage now these, you know, hundreds of screens you're working on. You know, how do we optimize those workflows so you don't have to worry about that time that you might be wasting on that you can just design. So that's really been kind of one of the driving forces behind all the work that we do in XD.
Yeah, and there are two elements to that, right? It's like the concept of designing at the speed of thought. It's like, number one, yeah, you're saving time by using colors, character styles, and symbols throughout your document. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then what really excites me is the idea that your brain doesn't have to slow down, right? Yeah. That it can stay engaged with the actual usability problems that you're trying to solve for, and trying to understand how something should work for your customer. I feel like that's ultimately the dream, right? Is to be able to focus your time and energy on that stuff that matters versus on the mechanics that technology is supposed to solve for you.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or help you with.
Definitely, and it definitely gets us excited about coming in and working here every day. So let's talk about just the mechanics of the assets panel. So here I am. I've got a brand new document. Over down here on the bottom left, there's this icon. It's a little, it's an icon. You click on it, and it is the assets panel. Basically, it's sitting over here above the layers panel. And here is where now we can start actually adding all of our kind of global style elements. Anything we're going to want to stay consistent in our document, anything we're going to want to reuse later, like this becomes the home for that workflow. So as Alex was saying, right, if you apply a color from the assets panel to any shape or text, as you can do as we start working here, and then if you edit it from that assets panel, it will change everywhere. And again, that's the same goes with character styles or any symbols that you add to the panel. If you change them, it changes and updates everywhere in your document. So, you know, actually, I'm gonna just jump quickly to a one that's a little more in progress. So here I have basically some global colors, and I can basically, you know, these are my style guide for my app. And if I select them and I go to the color section here, now I can just add them to the global colors. And now they're available and ready for me. So as I'm designing other elements, I can just click and quickly apply that color. And then if I go and I change that color from the assets panel, it will now update in both of those, now wherever that global color is applied.
Something that I want to hop in and say here is that, you know, we've been talking about the asset panel as, you know, a time saver and a design assistant for sure. But also one of the things that I think is really powerful about it is that sometimes it's really difficult as a designer to understand what impact a shift in something like a color or a character style will have on your overall application or your site. And so that's actually one of the other use cases that I think we found from talking to customers, which is once you zoom out a little bit and you start looking at how a shift might actually draw people in more, or maybe you want to A/B test and you want to create a prototype with a different, just a couple of alterations. How can you begin to see and get that information from the interface that you're working in, right?
And that's a lot of work. And one of the workflows I used to do when I was working in Illustrator full time in my job previously, before I was at Adobe, is I would, there was this workflow called replace color. Right, and so rather, again, like if the client, we want to see maybe a couple different options of something, you know, color, style, I would use this workflow called replace color, where I could actually go in and it would highlight like all the colors I'm using, and I could just kind of swap them out wholesale. But it was kind of not a great process. It was a little clunky. It was hard to kind of understand how to make the best use of it. And I, through time, figured out how I wanted to use it, which I would actually go and use color.adobe.com, and I would download color themes, and then I would actually like swap out like whole color themes throughout the whole document, and it would just recolor my document. I was seeing my design in this new way, you know. So similarly here, like now that we've sort of added this green color, again, even if I hadn't started here, again, this is not something that I can do. I can utilize the assets panel early in my workflow, or sort of retroactively later in my workflow. I can add that global color, and wherever now it's been used in this document, it will update. The XD is actually recognizing and actually seeking out where that color has been used in the past, and kind of retroactively helping you kind of, again, apply and change this globally throughout your whole prototype. Yeah. Again, like seeing that change is amazing. That's really exciting. So yeah, so
see, we got some
you got some questions, comments.
All right, let's get to it. What do you want to see? What do you want to see? What can we?
Yeah, what can we do here? So we're just sort of showing some of the ways in which we use the assets panel. How have you guys used the assets panel? Cisco has a great example up.
This is my favorite.
This is really exciting.
This is my favorite. So let's say that, you know, I've designed an application here, and actually I'm going to zoom out really quickly. I got a bunch of stuff up in this kitchen. I got some tablet wireframes, some high fidelity stuff, but as you can see, what I've done is I've used a tan. I don't know, the 80s called, and they wanted me to use this tan color. And so what I've done is I've created my prototype. I've wired a couple of artboards, and now using the share pop-up, I've created a shared prototype. And now I go there, and let's say that after I've shared it with my team, that I start getting some comments. Like I might get a comment from someone saying that they don't like the tan.
Two-factor authentication is killing me. Oh, let's see. Wait, hold on.
I hate this tan. Right, so someone just says like they hate the tan. Typically what you would do is you would basically cry into your sad, empty hands. At this point in time, you just pick up the phone and call your friend and, you know, be like, I'm not gonna make it for dinner.
Oh, there it is. I was too late.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. The problem is still real. The struggle is still real. The struggle is still real.
So you've sent me the prototype. I did comment. I was supposed to comment. We had a little hang up. Everything crashed on my machine.
That's what happens when you have top secret experimental.
That's what happens. That's my daily life. Yep.
So what I've done here is I'm just going to go ahead and I click on the element that has the color that I'm trying to shift or replace. I've added it to the panel.
Now then it goes through and it just says everywhere this is used is now tied to that color.
Yes, and now I'm going to replace it with an even uglier orange. Am I really about to do this? No. No. I'm just gonna lighten it a little bit. And this is the magic. I know I sound like I'm just like generating the Kool-Aid over here, but it's for real. That like the ability to simply go into the sharing pop-up and to say like, okay, I've made that change in my design document. I want everyone to get that change now. That ability to go from like end to end without having to suddenly like re-upload bitmaps, recreate the hotspots and the wiring is something that I think is really powerful. And then you just Slack people and like, hey,
I'm gonna refresh here.
Go get that new color.
So just imagine that I actually was logged in and could make that change. Yeah, there it is.
This literally, like sometimes I just do this at home to make up for the trauma of all those years. That like I just couldn't.
No, there's a lot of pain. That was a lot of work back in the day. Like to make that change to all of the artboards, to all of your comps. And there were workflows to help you again, like we were talking about, but they were a little tricky to use again. So we really wanted to again. Our goal here is to really make this part of your daily workflow. And again, like I live with this panel open. Like this is how I work now. Like this panel never closes as I'm working.
And the thing is, if you don't want it open, just a Shift Command Y opens it up and closes it. You pretty much, how you kind of just like learn your, those are your chops, right?
Totally.
So that key is really great, and also the control tab shifts you between design and prototyping mode. So just like putting that out there.
I am terrible. I've always been terrible with keyboard commands.
I love that one. It's like
that one's great. Yeah, I just always forget to use it.
It's like the doors on a DeLorean. Okay, so I have this logo here.
Okay, so Alex had some questions, some feedback on symbols here. Symbols, so today, right, as you're going to show here, you've made this a symbol.
I'm about to. The magic hasn't happened yet. So this is a logo that I want to use throughout my document. I can either, just by selecting this object, I can either hit the plus symbol, or I can right-click and make it a symbol.
Very good.
I now get this green highlight around. It's now a special item. And this I love. This is like one of those smaller kind of unsung features, but
this was huge.
I love it so much.
This was huge.
Now by just selecting all of the artboards that I want to paste this onto, I just I've hit copy. Now I hit paste,
there it is.
And it's
on all the artboards.
Pasted
exactly
on
where it should be.
Exactly, like in the position.
Like smart defaults, smart behaviors. Design at the speed of thought. Right. That's the thing here. Right.
And that's that notion of like consistency and being able to execute changes. On multiple locations throughout the artboard works very much the same way with.
And now there's a symbol, right? So then you can go change that at any time, just like as we were showing. You can apply a global color to that symbol. Yeah. So now you've got these nested sort of styles.
Yep. So if in this case I want to turn that one instance, right? So one of the things that happens in some other applications is that there's like a multiple instance of a symbol. Yeah. We tried to pull out even a little bit more of that friction by just saying, you know what, like all symbols are connected. They're all instances.
The symbol is the symbol.
Exactly. So in this case,
you have to go to one specific place to edit it.
Yeah.
Wherever you see it, you want to make a change, and that's more like that's the design process.
Exactly.
Like, when I see it and I want to try something new, I shouldn't feel like I have to go through a whole other process to make that change.
Exactly. Yeah. Like no one wants to go have a master instance. It's just like it's not something that people want. So so I've double clicked into this symbol, and now with a single click, I'm just going to go ahead and apply the new style, the new color, and it updates everywhere. And then finally.
This is really exciting. This is really cool.
It matters.
And you're gonna bring tears of joy to Jonathan and Lars and everyone in the chat here.
So what I've done here is I have another symbol.
All right.
Let's see. It's already a symbol.
It's already a symbol.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
All right, so using a new feature, let's make sure.
So you've tried one. This is your client's logo type.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, out of the blue, they've sent you another logo type.
They're like, no, we want
the
coral one now.
Yeah, we want this everywhere, and I have to go through and update all the artboards individually.
Aqua
Show me
is
how
out.
you're going to blow my mind.
Yes,
here.
Aqua is out, Coral is in. I am dragging the symbol and dropping it just right over the other one. Bam, done. Save, goodbye.
Oh my gosh.
Update prototype.
Yeah.
Then goodbye.
Update prototype, very important. I'd come back here. I'd be like, hey, Cisco, can you change this real quick? I know it's like 9 o'clock at night, but I really need this in there for the comp tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
You got that?
Sure. Yeah.
Why are you answering email at 9 o'clock at night?
I
Yeah, like, again, these are the things that I never get tired of seeing this. Like, these are the things that get, like, this is the geeky details that, like, really get me excited. It's, it's repeat grid. Man.
And frankly, and I don't know if this is like considered a leak or a breach of both etiquette and intellectual property, but you can well imagine the number of workflows that we could build on top of these already really powerful things like symbols. It's like, these are the kinds of design systems that you're really trying. These are the building blocks of the more complicated design systems.
There's something you said there that I always like to highlight, because I think it's really something unique about this team. Like, we have a foundation. We continue, this is a brand new feature that continues to add, ease or, optimizations or new functionality to a workflow. Like you talked about design systems, what kind of story are we telling here? As we're releasing monthly updates, right? This is something that you'll work on with it today. And I think Alex mentioned it earlier, like responsive resizing of components. Like give us a little idea of kind of where this is headed. And because we have the opportunity to release new features every month. I mean, XD will have a new feature release next week. We're constantly kind of evolving and just adding really exciting stuff to this product. So as a group product manager for this feature, give us a little peek.
Is this where I talk about stuff that's secret?
Someone in the chat mentioned that, gee, this build looks a little different, Cisco.
Oh.
My assets panel looks a little different than your assets panel.
Really? What's different about it?
It's, I don't know. So actually here, I just wanted to show that actually this is our design system that we use here at Adobe Design. And we use this style guide right here, this UI kit to actually design Adobe XD, actually. So here, this is a really helpful file because I can come in here and, again, find all the components and buttons and different UI elements that I need to use to design new features in XD. And it's got all the great features of the assets panel. But one of the things that we do is we communicate across a very large team. And here, if you notice, the designer who's designing this design system has actually named all of these styles, right? So when we share, and we talk about and we use these components, this is how we refer to them. We refer to them as, not just the gray value, the hex value, but actually, again, this is gray 300, and this is this item over here. There's a bunch of different buttons. This blue button is a call to action button, right? So this information right now, these are all, they're visually, I can see what's what, but what if I wanted to actually name these? I think someone maybe actually mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, I think maybe. Well, what happens when you click on that other little...
let me see. Let's see, there's a little grid icon. There's a list icon. Oh.
Bam.
Oh my. Look at that.
What's that?
Look at now. Oh, I can actually see the value.
Looks like
for all my colors.
Like there might be a list view now.
I can see. Of course, I can see all the names of the character styles I'm using. I can see now. Oh, the names of the symbols I have.
Yeah, and by the way, and I really can't.
We're really egging this on.
I can't underscore this enough, but the more that you use the assets panel, I think there are going to be two things that you find. Number one, I think you're going to find that you really like it, but I think you're also going to find that there are things that you want.
Yep.
So I can't underscore this enough. We have user voice set up. We go to it every day. In addition to being out there, working with all of you and like visiting, your organizations and your agencies and where you work, like we go there. That's what we base the roadmap off of.
This is why we're releasing these monthly updates.
Yeah, so please like give us your suggestions, and it's obviously there are a lot of directions that we could take this in. So help us decide which features are most important to you.
Yeah, like this one. This one's going to be really big for our team.
Did you just rename something?
I just renamed this color swatch. No longer is it the nondescript FFFFFF. It is white. And this one here, this is gray 50. Now I know there's a lot of grays here, so I need to know the difference between these grays. And it's, again, like the hex value is valuable, but this is even more valuable now. And of course, even as I go down to the buttons down here, this is not just a button, it's the call to action button.
I'm seeing a request for folders, for symbols. One of the things that I think is really interesting, if you want to shoot me an email, we can come harvest your brain juice.
Yeah, just stick,
because we want to know more about grouping and how you'd want that to work.
Yeah, Dushi actually mentioned naming earlier in the stream, and I knew we were gonna blow his mind when we got to this.
Honestly, there's a lot in there, but also we have a lot of stuff coming.
A lot of ways
too.
to go. A lot of ways to go. Yeah. Alex mentioned responsive constraints on symbols. Definitely something that we're actively working on right now because we've heard that a lot. So again, like this is why we kind of are here every week. We're really looking for your feedback, and we're taking that to heart, and we're actually using that to define the work that the team is doing. Whether it's now or next month or the months after, we just love sharing this work and seeing how all the designers out there are using XD and all the really amazing work that you're doing, because that's what just gets us excited about coming into work every day.
Absolutely. Just hearing stories of, that's one of the things that I love, honestly, is hearing from people that they're picking up what we're putting down. You know what I mean? That they're like, oh, like I'm able to focus on the stuff that I really want to focus on as a designer. It definitely keeps a lot of us, and I know I'm speaking for, just like Talon is, for the whole team. I mean, there are, a lot of people behind XD. Those videos that you see, like those are real. It's like it's a band of people trying to make it real.
Right here in the chat, we've got Daniel and Anirudh and Lars and Glaren and Tom, who's still maybe an honorary member, we'll say, who has gone on to bigger and better things. But again, like that's why we get excited. We want to help designers create their best work and focus on design and really live that sort of mantra, design at the speed of thought. And thanks for joining me today, Cisco.
Yeah,
it's been super exciting. Everyone, just last note, remember we've got actually a design challenge going on as well. So go to the XD Twitter stream, check out our latest challenge, go download this amazing UI kit. Fashion editorial design. I have never seen that in XD. Go download this amazing kit and take a crack at the challenge. I think it'll be next week. They'll be doing a great giveaway. Thank you guys for joining us. Cisco, it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks.
And to get to hear a little bit about how why you like to come to work and do what we do.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for everybody from the Adobe XD team for joining us. It's always great to see everyone dropping in. And Tom, it's great to see you if you're still watching us. And we'll be back next week. See you.